Hey, everybody, welcome. Our guest is here. Kelly is here. We'll get them out here in just a moment. And if you have any questions, put them in the chat and we'll start prioritizing them for our guest. And when you see who our guest is, you may have some more questions. Hey, how's it going, Trigger? Hey, Rapunzel, Mr. Turpin. How you guys doing? What'd you think about that Candace tonight? How was that? Hey, Rebecca. We're 80% water. I thought we were 70% water. That's interesting. Yep, Kelly is streaming too. We're multi-streaming. Hey, Ivan, how's it going? Thanks for being a channel member. Can I mention how fake it has all become with Charlie Kirk? It's been interesting. Hey, Yarmouth. Yeah, the meeting, we might talk about that a little bit later, but that was definitely a very interesting meeting and very interesting Candace. We'll just say that. All right, we got a few hundred in here now. We'll go ahead and bring Kelly on. Hey, Kelly, how's it going?
Hello. Happy Tuesday. I had to look at the calendar to see what day it was. It's been a blur. So much news lately.
Yeah. Is it good quality news though?
Well, it's keeping us busy, and I think it's bringing in a lot of new folks, a lot of new voices to the conversation, which I believe is always a good thing.
Well, the more angles you have, assuming it's not a psyop or someone lying, eventually helps you get to the truth, and that's what everyone's looking for. Hey, Tanya's. I will give it just a few minutes here. We got a few hundred. So, is there anything? I guess what's your initial impressions on the Candace?
Whew. She was talking fast and furious tonight. There was a lot to keep up with. In fact, I'm going to go back and re-listen to it because there were so many topics covered in just a flurry of information.
Yeah, we have people talking about the electrocution. So she shouted out Barron. She said he was doing some good work with the planes, but she had her doubts about the pictures looking like they were burnt. And then she said her source, who was at the wake or funeral, whatever the viewing was, said that she verified that the hands were not burnt. Now, some people are saying maybe it was makeup, right? Maybe there's makeup covering the burns or something like that, but she basically discounted it and said that there's nothing there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I did not catch that part. I had a phone call that I had to take during that part of the show, but she, if in fact well, I mean, obviously you're saying that if she truly was told that, I'm curious when this person saw what they saw. So I'd like to hear more about that. Definitely.
All right, we're approaching a good starting point. Did you want to go ahead and get us started there, Kelly?
Absolutely. Let's get into it. Okay. Our guest tonight, we've kept a mystery, but it is now time to reveal. Our guest was not a bystander, you guys. He was hired by Turning Point USA as the sole still photographer for the event at Utah Valley University. He was positioned just feet away from Charlie Kirk when the attack occurred directly in the line of fire. 1 week after the assassination, he gave a really raw interview describing the moment as electric. Since then, new theories, new accusations, new questions have surfaced, some of those aimed directly at him. So tonight, we're going to slow the story down a bit. We're going to revisit what happened before, during, and after that moment, what he saw, what he heard, what didn't make sense then, what doesn't make sense now. And we'll also address the speculation, the accusations, the broader controversy surrounding TPUSA and the aftermath of this case. Andrew Ferrasi was there. He hasn't changed his story, but time has given him new perspective. So Andrew, come on in. And thank you so much for being here with us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So for those that don't know, he has been on Jimmy Dore unwillingly, and there's some accusations and things, and we will address those. But we want to make sure he also gets to tell the story because he was there, he was on the ground, and he was just a few feet away when this happened. So we want to make sure we're getting the full story. And we will, like I said, we will cover the piece that some of you are questioning. Hey, Esoterica, Tanya's, Maggie, a lot of familiar faces coming in.
It's great to see everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's go ahead and get this all set up here. All right, so Andrew, let's start off first with the people who don't know you. Can you briefly describe your background and kind of what you were doing for that event?
Yeah, so my name's Andrew. How's it going, everybody? But I was born and raised in Boise, Idaho. I've been doing professional photography and videography for the last 8 years or so. And how I got into Turning Point was I have a friend who is part of the events team, and we just got connected, and I offered him like, hey, if you guys ever need another camera for any events, just let me know, and I'd be happy to do it. And you know, a few months after we had that conversation, we connected again. She was like, actually, we're going to have this huge, you know, fall campus tour, and we'd love for you to be a part of a few of them. And so I was like, yeah, absolutely. And the Utah one was my first event with them. So that's kind of how I got plugged in with them.
And when you were doing the photography, you said you were only doing photography, right? Not video?
Yep. Okay. Specifically photography for Turning Point.
Okay. Did they set expectations of kind of where you were going to be and what they expected, or were they kind of just letting you freelance since you had experience?
Yeah. So, I mean, we did an interview process of like what my background and my experiences with events and my process with events. And so what they were looking for was obviously, you know, pictures of the crowd, people interacting, people cheering, getting kind of like the environment first. And then after that, it was, you know, when Charlie shows up, you know, make sure obviously get all the portrait photos of him, getting him throwing hats, interacting with the crowd. And then, yeah, it was just, they really did trust me with the whole process. But their big thing was making sure like the turnaround time was important because they wanted to post those photos like immediately. Right. So, I was really big about that.
What was the expectation for your turnaround time?
I told them my turnaround time is like, if I have Wi-Fi, so typically how I do events is like, I'll do photos of the speaker, right? Talking. Then if there's Wi-Fi, I go back on my laptop, upload like 10 to 15 photos right away so that they can use it for social media. And then rinse and repeat. But for this, it was just like, hey, can you get these edited by the end of the day and then upload them? So that was their expectation.
So when you arrived at campus, some people, I believe even Frank Turk, said that the atmosphere felt a little bit off that day. What was the general atmosphere like to you?
For me, since it was my first one, I didn't know what to expect. So for me, I've always said like the atmosphere kind of felt like a tailgate game at a football, like a college football game. Like people were really excited, energetic. People were showing up. Like, so we got there at like 8 a.m., I think. And people were already starting to show up. You know, like I don't think Charlie was supposed to be there until, oh gosh, I can't remember the exact 12. But yeah, people were already starting to show up and people were super nice. Even like the protesters there too. Like I went to, talk to them and they were very like timid at first. Obviously, when you see a guy walking up with a camera, like you don't want to be like, oh, is this another gotcha video? But I just asked how they were doing, if they needed anything, and they were super friendly. And so the whole atmosphere to me was really great. And I was really excited. Everyone was having a good time, especially the closer that it got to Charlie showing up. Everyone was just really, really excited. So that was my experience and my perspective. So,
Andrew, did you feel like most of the people in the crowd that you saw were actual college students or were college student age? I think that's something that's, come up quite a bit. And I see that question.
That's a great question. Yeah, that's a great question. So majority of them, yes. But there is definitely a lot of people, in their 30s, 40s, because Charlie started to grow, not just a college crowd, people of all ages wanted to hear him speak, right? And so, yeah, there was a good mix of people out of college as well. And even people, unfortunately, there's kids there too that were watching. So it was predominantly a college age group though.
Did you see anyone? I was just
Sorry.
asking, did you see anyone suspicious? Like, did you see the maroon shirt guys that Candace is talking about?
No, I mean, nothing seemed out of the ordinary to me. It like I said, it just felt like a tailgating game where, you know, people would stop by, say hi, get to talk to them, and then you move on. Like for me, the energy that I felt was just kind of like what was said earlier, was just electric.
It sure looked, you know, in those few photos that we were able to see and some of the videos from up close, that there were just a lot of older folks. I actually did a little bit of a dive into what exactly defines, you know, millennials versus boomers versus, you know, all of the different generations. But it just looked like there were a lot of folks that were significantly older than college age in those key front few rows.
Mm-hmm. From the photos that I took, yeah, all of them, from what I could see, were college aged. But yeah, you are right. There were definitely a significant amount of people that were older for sure.
All right, so I have a question here for you. If they only announced it on 9/6, how were there 3 times as many people there? Do you know the official date that you knew about it?
Geez, I think I knew about 3 weeks prior, 3 to 4 weeks prior, just because that's, you know, for employees and people helping out, I'm sure that they needed that time in advance. I mean, they had the whole schedule out, but I think also too, with social media, man, things spread like wildfire. I think the campus knew about it for a while. Don't quote me on that though, because I don't know for sure. But I mean, yeah, it was insane, the amount of people that were there.
Well, and people will talk about it, right? Even if they're not supposed to, if they have like a
right.
Yeah. And then someone's asking, because you're a photographer, what do you shoot with?
So my go-to camera is a Canon R5. Been using it for the last 3 years, and I love it. I have it with me because I know that's going to be an important topic later on in the show. But I use 3 different lenses. One is a Sigma 18-35 for wide shots, and then for events, I primarily use a 70 to 200 mil.
That's 2.8.
Yeah, 2.8. And the Sigma is a 1.8. And then I have a nifty 50, which is just good for
portraits,
like headshots and stuff like that. So, and that one is also, I believe, a 1.8.
All right. And then the other question people are going to ask, they said, let's see them. So
the camera or the photos?
The photos.
Yeah. So just out of respect for Turning Point, I've told them that I didn't want to share any photos. But I did give all of the raw photos to the detectives the same day because, and that's something that a lot of people don't realize, is the eagerness that myself and everyone else on the production team had to help out detectives. Like we knew that what we had on camera was potentially evidence. And I was hopeful because I went through all of my photos at least 10 different times thoroughly to see if I could find anybody suspicious, because I was pissed. To be honest with you guys, I was frustrated. I was brokenhearted, like everyone should be. And so I was hoping that I could also find something for the detectives as well. But they have all of my photos. Turning Point has all the photos, and so just out of respect for them, because I've had people offer me money for my photos, and I just don't want to do it. That's just not who I am. And so for me, it's a respect thing. I know, like with journalists, they have a ethics code that they have to follow, and for me, even though there's not really an ethics code for photographers, that's still really important to me. I don't want to be a sellout. And I understand people will be like, oh, you know, if you just showed your photos, you know, then that would get you off the hook. But like the photo that Erica posted on her Instagram, that's one that I did take. That was one that was used on the memorial.
That's the one here you can see on the screen.
Yeah. And so I did take that one. But yeah, just out of respect for Turning Point, I don't want to show anybody.
And you did not have any sort of contract with them that prohibited you from disclosing any or sharing any photos or talking about anything? None of that.
Like I have free will to do whatever, literally. And I'm just choosing not to, because for me, it is a respect thing. Those were Charlie's last moments here on Earth. And if I was a spouse of someone who passed, I wouldn't want everything about that day to be shared with the public. Some of those things might be something that I'd want to hold on to privately. So
we have a question here.
It. Yeah.
We have a question here. A lot of the photographers and SD cards and stuff were supposedly handed over to the FBI or the police. Did you do that as well?
Yep. I went, so literally, the plan was I arrived Tuesday, which was also my birthday. So that the day before September 10th. And then September 10th was arrive, do photos, edit photos, upload, and then head back home. And so obviously with the horrific event that happened there, my flight I was still planning on heading home that day. But the detectives did a really good job of making sure that before I left that they could get my SD card and that they can get all of the raw photos. And so I made sure to do that. And I was with them in the office, and they were incredibly nice and incredibly heartbroken of what happened. And they were shocked. Like they could not believe what had occurred. And so, but we talked about it, and like I said, I was there when they uploaded all the photos from my camera. They even took photos of my camera itself, the serial number. They took a photo of the lenses that I used, everything like that, just so that they could be really detailed and not miss anything. Right. So, and I was all for it. Like you have to write a consent to say, hey, like I'm giving permission for them to look over everything. And I was more than willing to. And that was the same attitude that everyone else had as well.
All right.
So
I want to talk about, the event itself. If you guys haven't seen already, he did another podcast about a week after the event happened. And he really talks in depth about kind of like, what happened. They walk them through like, what you hear and those kind of things. But in your opinion, as someone who has shot and you've worked with other people and you do photography for people that shoot, in your opinion, you said it was a loud gunshot.
Yeah, for sure.
Could you recognize the type of gun?
No, I knew right away though it was not a pistol. That one was a louder and like I don't want to say girthier sound, but it was. And so in my mind, I thought it was a rifle. I didn't know what the caliber was though. I just knew it was not a pistol for sure.
Okay. All right, Kelly, you're up.
And you're basing that off of. Do you have
just my experience with firearms? I've shot a lot of guns myself. I grew up in Idaho, so there's like more firearms I think here than there are people. And I did photography for a friend of mine who owns a firearm store in Idaho, and so just being around and going out in the desert and just shooting guns, like you get really familiarized with the type of sounds each firearm makes. And so to be honest with you, when I first, because I'm pretty focused in when I'm working, and when I was taking a photo of the second speaker and the gunfire went off, my first immediate reaction was, oh, firework. But then reality kicks in real quick. And I was like, oh no. Because like, I guess my brain was like, I don't want to think about the worst possible scenario, because I wasn't even thinking about that happening that day. But then, reality quickly set in. I was like, no, that was a gunshot. And then quickly after that, you heard the screams and then all the calamity that took place after.
So and Matt, you'll be better to describe this because you have spent a ton of time with your guest Algeist. Is that how you say his name?
Algeist. Yep.
Algeist. But I did see someone in the chat mentioning like the shot into the ballistic gel, into the trunk kind of thing. And if that were the case, for example, Andrew would have been standing extremely close to that.
A few feet away. Yep.
Yeah. So do you want to discuss maybe that a little bit?
So I guess my question would be, did you feel anything or you just heard the sound?
I heard the sound.
But you said initially you looked to your right.
Yep. So where I was at, I was about 10 to 15 feet to the right of Charlie, a little bit behind him too. So I was actually underneath like the concrete like barrier that they had. And so the sound, in my opinion, I feel like how sound works. It could be wrong, but the sound ricocheted off because my left side was completely open. but I was right against a wall. So the sound, in my opinion, ricocheted, hit me in the right ear. So that's why I like glanced to the right initially. And this was without seeing any videos after the fact. That was just my initial reaction, was I thought it came from the right. So
you glanced to the right, which would have been away from Charlie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's a couple of pictures of you. So here's you with your 2.8 and your backpack hanging out there. And then you have, that's you here, right? Yep. So, I mean, he's here, he's taking pictures, and was kind of moving all around. You know, some people were saying he was just kind of in one spot and it was kind of sketchy. He was free roaming, taking photos like a lot of these people were. And we'll get into the conspiracy about this here in a few minutes. But was there anything about this day at all that seemed off to you or strange, or like even in hindsight, like looking back, or is there anything about it that made you feel like there was something about to be set up?
No, nothing. There was, again, that was my first event. I've done a lot of events for different people, and it just felt like just a normal event. And so there wasn't anything for me that seemed off that day. So,
I mean, I'm looking at it, of course, with hindsight, right? And knowing that something happened, but I'll just tell you that I see a lot of people on their phones, looking at their Apple Watches and then getting on their phones. And there's a feeling that I get watching this interaction in those few minutes before everything starts. And then, leading right up into the shot, that just seems so orchestrated to me. And I know you might be in the zone. I get that, but I mean, you didn't like pick up on any of that.
I mean, I know how, for the most part, like for big events too, security detail, they're always communicating all the time. So they all have earpieces, so that way they're all on the same page. Like I've seen interviews too from people that were on security, and they've done this so many times, right? It becomes clockwork, it becomes super easy for them to do, but they're always constantly in communication. So I don't know, what was being said at the time with them. That's something that's completely out of my wheelhouse and knowledge. But I do know that they're constantly talking and making sure everyone's where they're supposed to be, and making sure that because each individual, I'm sure, is assigned to a certain area of the crowd. Most of the time, especially with college events, the biggest threat are the people in the front row, so they don't jump over and throw things. And so that's why they have a lot of security detail in the front row. But for me personally, this is just my opinion. I did not like the fact how the crowd was elevated and we're basically a fish in a fishbowl. Like that was the only thing I didn't like. And I do know that because I wanted to use my drone for aerial footage in photography, because I thought that would have been a really awesome shot. But then security told me I couldn't because the university wouldn't allow me to. They didn't allow any drones that day.
When you say security, are you talking about Harpole, or are you talking about UVU security?
I was told by Harpole, it's like Harpole's team, so Dan and stuff like that. But they wish I could have. And I wish I could have too. That's one of those things where that eats me up a lot, because the shit I
have a question about that, because so Harpole said that the university and the police and everything there, and the air patrol and all that stuff, said he couldn't, right?
Yeah.
And I did some research, and all you have to do is fill out a form, and you can get permission. But it would be strange that Harpole would be the one telling you that you can't when it's not his choice.
So it wasn't like actual Harpole; it was somebody on the security staff.
On his security staff, or UVU security staff?
Not UVUs. It was just somebody and also the production team too, that they use all the time. I double checked, and they were like, yeah, we can't use drones, unfortunately, today. So, but I also do know that it was UVU's responsibility to take care of the roofs, because I think that was something that was a big concern to Dan and everyone else, was the rooftops were wide open, and UVU apparently was said that was their responsibility to handle.
Now you mentioned it. Yeah. No, you mentioned in the other interview, you mentioned something about people being on some of the roofs, right?
Yeah. I mean, from my perspective, it looked like they were on some of the roofs, but like looking back, I think it was just an area that you could have gotten onto by walking up, just because we were so, what the opposite of elevated, but basically we were just so
In a
low
valley.
that looking up, just
Yeah.
looking up, it looked like they were possible roofs, but yeah.
Okay, I
I think
want
there
to
were just other standing areas. Sorry.
rewind on that. So do you remember which person on the security staff said that you couldn't fly your drone, and maybe at what point, what time that was?
No, it was early in the day though, because that's something, because I brought my drone just in case, and I was told that by security detail that they wouldn't have permission by UVU's, the university. We couldn't. So, and I double checked with the production team too, just to make sure. So
we have this question here. Did you actually see the audio team doing sound checks prior to the CKA? Okay. And did you actually get a chance to talk to Terrell and the audio guy?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Terrell is super nice, super excited. Like I said, to me, there was nothing off about that day. I got to hold, like I have, because I do video stuff too, I offered to help, and I have like my own audio in case they needed backups. And so I knew all the gear that they were using. They were using Sony products and Rode mics, and nothing was suspicious or off about anything that they were doing. So
did they have any outboard gear? Were they hardwired in, or were they using like a generator or something?
So the mic that they use are the Rode mics, and they're wireless. And so
I mean, as far as like the mixer and stuff, like the PA system.
The PA system, I believe it was wired in.
Okay.
I believe. I could be wrong about that, but.
Okay, so people are going, they're honing in the chat as well on this drone situation. So I'm just going to ask again, even if you don't say the security guy's name, can you just tell us what he looked like? Because, that would be a pretty specific instruction.
He was younger. I think he was one of the newer guys. But he even told me to ask the production team too, because they would have a better idea as well, just because that's what they do all the time. And so he had sunglasses on. But yeah, I didn't know his name or anything like that.
Okay. So then when you did hear that a drone, at least one, had been flown, what did you think about that? Flown by USA?
I didn't believe it. I honestly didn't believe it, because I was told that there wasn't a drone, or couldn't be a drone, because if that was the case, because like the game that I play with myself, because this is who I am, I always think about the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, what could I have done better? And I beat myself up a lot for not just putting my drone up anyways, and just doing it just to get the shot, because who knows what I could have caught, who knows what I would have been able to find if that was the case, but I just was respecting what was told to me and just followed the rules. And so when I heard that there was a drone up, I was like, that's not true. That can't be true. So,
yeah. And it was your first time, it was your first time working with the TPUSA staff, right? Yeah. So you had never worked with any of those people there before, ever?
Correct. Yeah.
All right. We have a super chat from ZBTG crew. Did this guy notice the girl with the camera that was in front of him? This is the girl that Baron had me mention last night, was suspicious, and how she had a movement at the moment of the shot. The girl that was standing out in the front?
If you have a photo of her,
let me see if I can bring that up here really quick. Now, was it only you on this like crew shooting? Like, were you kind of like completely solo contractor, or were you like on a team of people that were doing it together, like the videographers?
Nope,
and stuff?
I was I was their only photographer that day.
So was Charles McClintock was just his own separate thing?
I think so. I think he's done stuff for them in the past. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I did notice there was other photographers there, but as far as I knew, I was the only one hired by TPUSA to do that event that day.
Yeah, I'll see if I can pull her up. I think she had a backpack as well, and she was doing photography. She was kind of, if you were on the right side of Charlie behind him, she would have been kind of right in that same area. Yeah, it's gonna take me a minute to look it up.
Yeah.
Okay, I can move on to another question in the meantime if you want while you're
Yep.
Chasing that down. Let's see. So, so you were, in terms of the photography, videography staff, you were the only person who was the sole contractor and the sole who'd never been there before, never worked with the group before. Because what we understand was that Terrell Farnsworth, for example, the company that he has or is with had multiple staff there, but that they have done TPUSA work. Like, did you get the sense that everybody else was familiar with working with each other?
Oh yeah.
Why do you think
they've
they
been
picked
doing?
just you, like just one person?
Good question. I mean, I showed interest in it, and I know that they really liked my work that I showed them, and so I think it was just another opportunity to improve on what they already had. But no, I was contracted to do more for them later in the year, but after everything happened, and plans changed, I didn't really know what that was going to look like. So I haven't been doing things with them since. But yeah, I got to meet a lot of people that have been there for a long time, and they were super nice people that like were super loving. They welcomed me like I had been working with them for a long time. And they were really, really good people. So they kind of had the mentality of like, you know, whatever needs to get done, let's get done, and let's help out where it needs to get helped out, and just get the show rolling.
People are asking if you noticed any drones.
I didn't. No.
Yeah, I can't find this girl. I've seen her before, but apparently she's not popular enough for me to have to pull her up real quick. So we'll move on from that and come back to it if we can.
Is it the person who she was running a photographer from within the boundary, or she was running a camera from within the boundary, or she was in the crowd? Matt.
This one was with where Andrew was standing. She would be facing him. So she was like right across.
Would have been like directly across
by the bike racks.
Was she pretty young?
Yes, and short.
Okay, there was a girl that I think she was what do you call it? She was getting into photography, and they wanted me to kind of help coach this person to like learn how to take photos and what to do and stuff like that. It could be her, but I can't remember her name.
Was she from UVU?
Maybe.
So now I have a question. This is just my curiosity.
Yeah.
TPUSA, 80 to 100 million plus company per year. Why would they not have on staff camera people and videographers?
I think that's a good question. I think when you contract people out, some videography companies just like to be contracted out because it's easier for them. They have more clients. They're not married to one person. That's a good call. I don't know what the marketing department,
benefits, not having to pay out benefits,
not have to pay all of that kind of stuff, right? You have to do, and you can use multiple people, right? If it would be nice, right, to have someone in-house so you can just take them wherever you want to. But for whatever reason, that's not the case with Turning Point. So.
I mean, right, Matt, I still don't understand why Charlie didn't have a doctor who went to every single
event
with him. Yeah, I mean, he probably could have found someone who was a big TPUSA fan who was a retired doctor who would have done it for free, given all the connections that he had. I've wondered that all along too. But anyway, side note.
I mean, I think from what I've heard that they didn't really expect actual violence. Typically, they get people knocking over tables. They get people ripping down signs. It's not like people taking shots or coming at him with knives, right?
Of course, but it would be nice to have a consistent person with you, considering that you do travel with a large amount of staff. And, it would be nice to have a doctor on hand that you're not trying to find someone in an emergency. That's all.
Yeah. You want him to have President Trump status, presidential.
Hey, he was bringing in big money.
All right, so Andrew, people are asking, who is he? So let's go ahead and get into the conspiracy. All right, so his name is Andrew Ferracci, or Ferracci, some people tell him, for the true Italian pronunciation. And he's a photographer, videographer, and he has a bunch of different work and stuff he's been doing. You can check it out if you want to see some more of it. he did a series of photos at the TPUSA event at UVU, and this one was one that Erica actually put out. And he says he has other ones, but out of respect, he does not want to release them. And I guess just real quick, is that because there's something gory or inappropriate, or is it because you just okay?
Just out of respect, yeah. For people that want to know, the person that I was taking photos of when the shot happened was actually the second person asking questions. That's where my lens was actually pointed at.
So you have pictures of Hunter Kozak?
Is that the second speaker? I'm sorry, I don't know his name, but yeah.
Is it the one that was asking the question when he got shot?
Yes, yeah. So
yeah, that's Hunter Kozak.
Yeah, then there was a Hunter.
Okay, interesting.
Did you take any photos after?
I did. There's one photo that I did take. It was when the police arrested the really old senile dude that was claiming that he did it.
George Zen.
Yeah, because in my mind, when I saw the police officers actually arresting someone, that's when my body kind of calmed down enough to be like, oh, this might be useful for evidence purposes, and that's the only one I took. Which, again, like the detectives have that one. So,
all right. So, and then continuing with who he is, he's also standing here. He's in position to do some more pictures, and then he's also, he's working, right? He's walking around, he's doing the photos and that kind of stuff. But the theory comes in because Jimmy Dore probably got some information or some kind of a tip, and we'll watch some pieces of this. But basically, he is the person right here. I don't know. Actually, let me do full screen. Is that better? Yeah. So he's actually this person right here, and you can see his lens sticking out. And I did a video on how cameras and guns, just like this up here, right? You can have a gun that looks like a camera and a camera that looks like a gun. And then a lot of people were saying, looked like maybe this person here, which is him, shot from behind and hit him and all that kind of stuff, right? And that came basically from this episode of Jimmy Dore.
Bullet come out. So that's what that was. You saw the bullet come out, and they're saying this is the guy right here. So he gives the hand signal. This guy comes out from behind. Watch this. So there's the guy. So they're saying that guy took the shot, and then he immediately walks backwards. Watch this. And he walks away.
So that is the accusation, right? And it was a theory that came out that maybe that camera person had shot, and that camera person just happens to be Andrew. So did you have anything you want to say to the audience about that?
Can I cuss? Is that loud? It's bullshit. I mean, the day that I saw it, because someone sent me that link of that video. And I've seen there's some conspiracies, that I was watching. And then a friend sent me that one, and I was like, whoa, like this is me. Like my life is being affected now by this. And first and foremost, I would never do anything like that ever. My passion has always been photography. I love people. But there's a lot of logical fallacies when it comes to that theory of people that have been around firearms for a long time. Know that there's a lot of things that would have to have happened in order for, I guess, my camera to do that, I guess.
Okay, so I know people are going to ask. People are going to ask this. Can you show your camera and lens to verify that there's not a barrel?
I have it here.
Of it?
I'll actually show you the two. So this was the first lens. This is the wide angle lens that I used. And this is the actual camera with the same photo lens, everything. This is what it looks like taken off. That's
not a gun.
Not a gun. People that have been all in on this conspiracy have said I used two different cameras, that I switched them out. It's not true. This is the only camera that I own. Also I traveled, so I'd have to take everything with me through security in airports and everything like that too. Like I said, not to mention the detectives took photos of my actual camera and the lens and everything like that to be very thorough. So, that there's a lot of things I could say about that video.
You also flew in with the equipment, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I went through security, airport, everything. I was just a photographer. So
Now, if
Yeah.
you want a better idea of kind of the like his feelings and his passion and stuff for photography, that first podcast that he did, he really gets pretty deep into it. So that'll give you a much better idea. We don't want to spend a lot of time on it here because he's already talked about that. All right. So that's the theory, right? And it was put out. Now, in all fairness, these theories have been said about a lot of people.
Yeah.
They've basically almost picked every single person that was within 15 to 20 feet of Charlie and said that person killed him. That person killed him. Those people killed him. Now they're saying possibly the sound guy electrocuted him, right? So it's kind of just this, if you're in the area, you're kind of a target. Now, I am interested to hear about when they put you in the room, and not just like kind of what happened, but also like how you felt. Like, did you think that, were you worried about more shooters, obviously, but also like, you know, what was going to happen and why the police or whoever it was like kind of putting you in there? And then my other question, follow up on that, is you mentioned SWAT being there. How fast did they get there?
Oh man. So for the SWAT question, I couldn't give you an exact time frame, but for me, it seemed pretty damn fast. I've never seen so many police vehicles there in my entire life. It was insane.
Are we talking like minutes, like a few minutes? Or like
I'd probably say like 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. But again, like the first responders there, first of all, I want to say a huge shout out to the first responders there, because that's not easy. It's terrifying in that situation. And I think they did the best that they could within, you know, with the situation that was given to them. But yeah, I think they showed up for me incredibly fast.
Okay, now in that room,
Yeah.
what was going on in that room and who's in there with you? Do you still talk to anyone from that?
Not really. I mean, I talked to my friend who is on like the event team from time to time. But for the most part, that entire room was really silent and a lot of crying. People were so shocked. They didn't know, you know, they're constantly checking on their phones for updates on Charlie. It was awful. Like it was, I really can't find the words to describe that feeling. Just a lot of tears, a lot of shock, a lot of grieving.
Was
and that's the thing
SWAT? So you said you got moved to this room. So who actually moved you to the room?
Just police officers that were there, detectives. They were telling us where to go. Anybody that claimed to be a witness to an event, they were just making sure, like, all right, come to this room. And
Did
so we were like,
did they frisk you? Did they make sure like there was no guns on you guys? Were they questioning you as
Yeah.
though
I
you were
didn't
possibly
get
guilty?
I didn't get frisked at all. No. I think what happened was they want to make sure the area was clear and safe before doing anything next. Because again, when that happened, my mind went to how many shooters are there? Are they going on a rampage? Like what's going to happen next? We don't know. And so same thing, first responders don't know. They're dealt the same cards that we are. And so they have to, in my opinion, I would assume that they would have to make sure that the area is safe and clear before doing anything else. And so once the area was safe enough, they brought us to this like faculty area within UVU. And that's when SWAT did its thing to make sure that the entire university was clear to the best of their ability. And we were probably in that faculty office area for probably like 45 minutes to an hour. At least that's what it felt like.
So there's this question here asking how long you were there afterwards. So it was about that 45 minutes to an hour. And then you also went to the police station to drop off evidence, right? For the photos.
Yeah.
So a couple hours total.
I would probably say I got out of there. I can't give you an exact time just because I don't remember. But I'd probably say I was there for another 2.5 hours at least. Yeah.
At that point, were you on your cell phone? Were you trying? Who were you talking to?
I was talking to my family. I was talking to my family, to my friends, my best friends, my pastor, because my phone was getting blown up because, like, people knew my best friends, my family obviously knew that I was there, and so I was just trying to keep them up to date on everything that was going on. But primarily want to make sure that I was safe. And so, yeah, that's who I was primarily talking to.
I'm sorry to rewind just a minute,
No,
but
you're good.
while you were standing out there and as the shot was initially fired, I mean, within a split second, we see you and who was the guy that was standing next to you? I can't remember. It was another
Videographer. He was
videographer.
part of the videography team. Again, I don't remember his name.
Okay.
But he had his own camera on a gimbal, and he was getting B-roll.
Right. He had it on that
Yeah.
gimbal. If people don't know what that
Mhm.
is, it's like a pole for stabilization. I don't know.
It's yeah.
That's the
Yeah, it's literally you put your camera on it, and it's an electronic stabilization, so that you could do all sorts of stuff, and it'll stay stabilized.
Smooth. Okay,
Yeah.
so you guys both kind of pivoted to the back of behind stage,
Right.
almost like clockwork, from here to there, not down, not running this way, it was just a very smooth motion. So can you talk about that?
And what you were thinking.
Yeah. So, like, one, I think my body just went into complete shock, like trying to figure out everything all at once. But the reason why we both looked to our left is because that's where we saw Charlie's security team, get on top of Charlie and take him to the car, right? And so that's where our attention went to. And there was a vehicle behind us, and again, like, everybody's body reacts differently in that situation. You're not going to know how you're going to act until you're actually in that situation, right? And so people were running, people were obviously panicking, and oh, hold on, I got a notification that my headphone's going to die. Sorry about that. But for me, I was trying to, I think, process everything. Guess that's why I walked backwards slowly, trying to figure out what was going on. And then I saw the car behind me where there was already probably like 10 people hiding behind. And, every part of me inside wanted to panic, but because other people were screaming and freaking out, there was this, I don't know, still voice that was like, nope, you got to remain calm. Just remain calm, breathe. And that's when, like, you can see the first responders come, and, yeah. And then shortly after that is when I saw the old, what's his name? The old crazy dude.
George Zinn.
Yeah. That's when I saw him get arrested. And that's when I started that was the only other photo that I took after the fact. And then after that was taken care of, I did go around just trying to make sure people were okay. What can I do to help? I was asking police officers questions of like, okay, what do you need? Like, I've got a camera, I've got photos, like, who do I go to give these to? Because that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to help as soon as I could. So
we have this question here, and this is a recurring question I've seen a lot in the chat. So they say you have these photos, and they're asking why you don't release them, if it could help with the investigation. Now, I want to preface this because in the other podcast, you had a chance to basically say what you thought about Charlie, and you talked a lot about faith and religion.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can kind of pair those together and kind of just let people know your thoughts about that.
So I don't know what else I can do to help the investigation than what I've already done.
Have you been interviewed by the FBI or any of those people?
I mean, when I went to the
station,
the station, they asked me questions, but again, like, I was a cameraman, so all of my evidence, everything that I contributed was in my camera. And so I gave them everything. They downloaded all of the raw photos right in front of me. So they have everything, every picture that I took that day. There wasn't anything that was tampered with. That's another thing that I can verify was there was nothing that was tampered with on my end or on the other production team's end. We were very willing to help out any way that we could. And,
when you say nothing tampered with,
yeah,
talking
like
about the SD cards?
Yeah, the SD cards, like, nothing was deleted, nothing was erased, everything was as is. And so, so I didn't, delete anything off my SD card. I gave everything I had, because believe it or not, for all the conspiracists out there, people that were on Charlie's team loved him dearly and wanted to do anything they could to help out.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about your thoughts on Charlie and what he meant to you.
Yeah. So I made a video about a week or two after the event, just kind of giving my perspective on things. And my faith is number one to me. It's the most important to me. And I know it was really incredibly important to Charlie. And in the video, I just said that I think I'm a type of person who likes to see the world, you know, half glass full. And so I was amazed the fact that like 5 minutes prior to the assassination, Charlie was able to share the gospel in front of thousands of people there, which in turn was hundreds of thousands of people because of social media. And the ripple effect that in itself had was amazing to me. People started going back to churches. People, you know, were just exploring God again. People that haven't been practicing their faith have been wanting, they had this hunger all of a sudden again. And that was something that was amazing. And I've said this time and time again, what the enemy uses for evil, God uses for his glory. And so that's essentially what I made the video about. And then even in my own comment section, people were talking about, you know, some of their own struggles and some of their addictions and battles. And people were literally buying each other Bibles in my comment section. And I was like, this is like amazing. Like, this is the coolest thing ever. And so, yeah, that's basically what I was focused on, was the faith aspect, the fact that people were coming to Christ again. And again, something so awful and evil happened, and yet God was like, nope, I'm still on my throne and I'm going to use this for my glory. And so that to me was amazing.
Thank you, the era of K, for super chat. So they're asking, was the wall behind you, or was the SUV or that Pacifica behind you?
So the cement walls to my right, and then the cars were behind us.
So you were kind of like at the edge of the tunnel in the open area?
Yeah.
All right, Kelly.
Okay. So, did you actually see Charlie dead? I'll just cut straight to the point.
No.
Did you actually see Charlie dead?
No, like I said, when I was taking the photo, I was taking a photo of the second speaker. Hunter, is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when I did see Charlie, his team was already picking him up and taking him to the SUV. So like his whole security team was around him. So I didn't actually get to see like the shot hit him and go down, but I did see the aftermath of everything. I saw the blood, and which was horrific, the amount of blood that was there. Yeah.
That's one of the things that I struggle with, because to me, it doesn't look like there's that much blood. And between doctors or surgeons or nurses that I've spoken with, you know, through a variety of research that I've done, people will say that it just didn't look like enough blood. And so, you know, I have a real hard time with that. And I think some in our audience does too.
That's fair. But for what I saw, it was everywhere. So
there's some new photos. There's some new photos that I saw today of the stage area after he left, and there's blood all over the platform. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely blood. I know a lot of people question it, but if you actually get the specific photos, you'll be like, yeah, there's a lot of blood.
I mean, if I could go back to, and here's the problem with the world that we are living in now, is that everybody can be their own AI artist, you know, with just their iPhone, right? The iPhone can so quickly, if it can remove a car out of the back of your photo that you don't want, it'll do that. If you want it to add some blood to something, it'll do that. So, you know, the longer that time takes, it's just hard to know that a photo is not doctored. As a photographer, Andrew, can you talk about that?
Just like with AI and everything.
Oh, I mean, just the idea.
Sorry, I was paying attention to the comments, and some of them were crazy.
Let's do that really quick with this question.
Sure
so
thing.
Kelly, ask Andrew what the logos are on his hoodie and cap.
So this is a I got this at D&B Supply. It's a chain in Idaho. And we talked about this prior. I was like, this is going to look a lot like this, isn't it? But no, it's a fishing hook and a hammer. I just liked the logo, and I wear the same Ariat hat like wherever I go. So I just wanted a new hat. There's really nothing to it. But
yeah, so it is not the communist symbol, because we asked them that communist before we started. Yeah.
It's, I was like, Ariat, like the boots Ariat.
So my go-to hat, I've got like 5 Ariat hats that I always wear, and I wanted something different, especially like my friends were giving me a hard time, like, all you wear is Ariat. And so, I mean, yeah. So I just saw this at D&B, and I fly fish a lot, and I saw the fishing hook, and I was like, I have no idea who this brand is, but I liked it and I bought it. So
fair enough. Go ahead, Gilly.
Oh man, I was
so
on. I was
your question, I think, was it related to AI?
Yeah. Just as a photographer, how do you deal with because there have been photos and videos that have come out, in the weeks and months that have passed that most definitely have been altered. And so, for you being one of the few people that was officially there, most definitely taking pictures, how do you do? But yet, not willing to release your photos. How do you handle that?
At the end of the day, for me, it's God knows the truth. Like, he's my defender, he's the judge, and he knows my heart, and he knows the truth. That's it for me at the end of the day. At the end of the day, when it comes to AI, I think a lot of people can. It's like social media. Social media has been used for really good, and it's also been used for really bad. It's a double-edged sword. And with AI, I like it a lot because it helps editing go by so much quicker for me. But yeah, people can definitely manipulate images and manipulate it to fit a certain narrative that they want out. So in that regards, it's not good, but it's one of those tools where hopefully people use it in a responsible way and use it in a way that's meant to be used and not, abused. So.
All right, let's do some of these questions we have building up here. I want to make sure I get to all the super chats.
I love how active the chat is. I mean, everyone is.
Let me just say, I'm not a Fed. I'm not even a student. Like, I have no military background whatsoever. Like, it's crazy. Come on, guys.
Okay.
Well, you don't have to have military background to be a Fed, but
that's some of the comments in the Jimmy Dore video was like, oh no, he's definitely, military background, and yeah.
Which, in all fairness, they've said about everyone involved, and people say that about me all the time. Yeah. So let's see. First question: no gag order for you. So the judge put out a gag order to witnesses, and you were actually saying that you were a witness, and you went and gave your camera pictures and everything to the police station. Mm-hmm. So are you aware of any gag orders? Have you been contacted about that?
Nope. Not at all. Not even a little bit.
Let's see. Sorry for what you went through, Andrew. Thanks to ARFK for your super chat. Would he have a photo he could release that can debunk the fried hand theory? So, but do you have any pictures of him going out after he got hit?
No, I don't.
The fried hand theory is the new electrocution theory that everyone's talking about. All right, let's see. Eli Mercer, thanks for the super chat. Honest question. Ask him if his nickname is Bulldog or Boxer or Pitbull or something like that. Not a joke. Am I close? Is it something like that?
No, my nickname growing up was Ferrari, because my last name's Ferrasi, and so I played tailback and outside linebacker in football, and so that's where that came from. So yeah. And
Sonic Sniper Killer Zelda, thanks for the super chat. Candace bounced up and down. They say CK is alive. Have you kept up with any of the theories?
Which ones? Because there's like 8 of them now.
That he's still alive. Like the blood squib, the fake.
No.
I mean, because I can talk about that one. That's one that I openly and honestly still believe from a personal level. And so I would be curious to hear your thoughts on that.
From all the videos that I saw videos that weren't posted online from people that were there. Like, in my opinion, when I first saw the first video I saw, I knew immediately that he was dead.
Which is a lot of people said the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no chance. No chance in my mind that he survived that. Even it's crazy how fast social media just spreads my best friend who I was talking to, when I let him know what was going on, he immediately saw the footage already for him. And he said the same thing. He's like, dude, I'm so sorry, but I don't think he's alive. And it's in that moment where, you know, you look up, you love someone so much, right? And you look up to somebody that you want to believe the best, even though your eyes see something impossible. It's like, man, maybe there's a chance that he is alive, but reality is like the way that his body reacted, everything just told me that when I saw that video, I just knew that there's no way that he made that.
And a lot of people were speculating too that if he actually did get shot and he was alive, he would probably be paralyzed or have some permanent damage anyway.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next question is, why were you behind the tent? So like, why were you?
Yeah, great question. So these are all like valid questions, right? And I think people need to understand, like, as a photographer, you don't want just the same angle. You want multiple different angles of everything, especially when you're doing event photography. You're going to get some of Charlie, you're going to get some of the crowd, speakers. I got photos of like secure, like you get everything. I mean, I took pictures of a pride flag hanging off of a bike, just to get the environment. And so for me, it was just, when I first was taking photos, I was standing to Charlie's left. That in fact, you guys pulled up a photo of me being there. And then just for different perspective, getting a better photo of Hunter, I just wanted a different angle. And that's when I used my 70-200 mil, because that's an amazing photo. I mean, sport photographers use those all the time. It's a good way to get basically like you're right in front of the person without being in front of them. You can be a far distance, a good ways back from the subject and still take a photo that looks like you're right in front of them. So
200 is a pretty good zoom.
Yeah, it's a great zoom.
All right, now someone is saying,
can I, while we're on that though, backstage kind of thing, can you tell us what was going on right behind the stage? That's one of the things that no one has really been able to hear or understand to this point. So yeah, describe the scene. How many people were back there? What were they doing?
Did you notice the car trunk opening and closing?
No, so the car trunk, from what I remember, is there was a car that was backing up to make sure we had plenty of food, water, snacks, that kind of stuff. And then for the people that were just like behind, they were like people that worked for Turning Point, some of Charlie's friends. They were just there watching, talking, and having a good time. There was nothing criminal or suspicious going behind the tent at all. It was just, you had a setup behind there too. People that helped set up the tent and everything like that, they were back there. But yeah, there was nothing suspicious at all going behind the tent. It was just people watching Charlie do what he does best.
And if you look at other events, you'll see the similar type of setup. You'll see the people behind the tent that work for the company and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. So someone said you had 3 cameras earlier. I believe it was 3 lenses, right?
I have 2 lenses. I used 3 lenses, but I only used 2 for that event, which was the Sigma 1.8 18-35 and then the Canon 70-200 mil.
And then just real quick, we have Ivan says, camera with a lens gets heavy. Why no strap?
I just like to not have a strap. It's personal preference. So, and,
right,
to me, Oh, go ahead.
And then the last super chat here. Dogs, no sell. We are all feds here. LOL. Everyone's a fed.
I mean, hey, everyone's an investigator. Everyone has, the ability to find truth now. So,
all right, Kelly, go ahead.
So have you heard from anyone or several people with TPUSA after? Can you describe those communications and what they have told you or told you not to say?
They really haven't told me not to say anything. Like I said, I stayed in contact with my friend who is on the event staff, and I check up on her on occasion because she's been there for a long time. And she's still really upset. She's still really hurting. She's told me everyone at TPUSA is incredibly heartbroken and going through it. And, that the whole Candace thing has not been making it easier. They're trying to do what Charlie wanted to do. They wanted to continue on with that, right? Because you still have a mission, but all of these crazy insinuations has really delayed all of that. And I get it. Like at the end of the day, people want to know the truth. I understand that, but there's a lot of innocent people who actually truly love Charlie and cared about him that are going through mud now because of everything that's been said. Their lives have been damaged forever because of things that she's been said. You know, I get death threats and I get, you know, doxing, you know, threats all the time. And I was just a cameraman. So I can't imagine what people that are actually higher up in Turning Point get on a daily, you know.
Have you turned those over to the police?
No, because to me, it's like, okay, whatever. I don't care at this point. It's like, people are going to say what they're going to say. I've had people bring up certain family members of mine, and that's when I take it seriously. They didn't threaten. They just started naming people in my family, and that's when I block them because I don't need that. But yeah.
Did and the person that hired you or that you were or that you were in contact with, was that Elizabeth McCoy?
No.
Got it.
Yeah.
So people are asking.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I just out of her own safety too. I don't want to mention her name, but it wasn't her.
Okay. And that's for anyone who's wondering, that's Mikey McCoy's wife, who is apparently administrative director of events, something to do with events at TPUSA.
So people are asking, they want to verify 100% you only heard one shot.
Yep, one shot, which was also weird to me. And I, just so you guys know, like, I've been a conspiracy theory like person for a long time. I love conspiracies. But after all of this, man, it's like, it's crazy the stuff that people are coming up with. But when I talk to the detectives and I talk to people that are really good shots when it comes to guns and firearms, I asked them, I said straight up, I was like, because it was one shot, do you think this was a professional shooter? And their answer was no. We don't think it was a professional shooter, because if you talk to any professional sniper and you tell them like where you want them to get, you know, where they want the shot at, they'll ask you like, okay, which nostril do you want me to hit? Like that detailed. They don't miss. And so like because one shot to me was like, in my mind, if it's one shot, it is a professional shooter. But at the same time, at the time when I asked that, I didn't know how far away the shooter was. I didn't know anything, right? But like a 200-yard shot with a 30-06 and a good scope is not really that hard of a shot.
Well, professional shooters don't aim for the neck.
No, they won't. And so I think, just so we're all clear, I'm just going to say this right now. I do believe, in my opinion, that Tyler did do it. I believe he was aiming for the head because when Charlie went down to say something, he went back up. And I think it was in that moment that he tried to pull the trigger. And when he went back up, I think that's where he got hit, was in the neck. That's just my opinion. But yeah, when it comes to like, was this an actual hitman? I think if it was a hitman, they would have made the scene a lot worse than it was.
So
did you hear anyone in some of the videos? And I'm sure you've probably listened back or watched some of them, but in some of the videos, I can hear someone right before the shots fired say, "Stand down," or "Stay down."
I didn't hear that at all.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
So we've had some people that were asking, they're curious who contacted who for this interview, and then why would you come out again now after these like 3-4 months or however long it's been? Why would you come out again if you've already done that previous podcast?
I think for me, I think because everyone values truth and transparency, I felt like in the past I said what I needed to say, and I still believe that, but just it's not dying down. You know, like I feel like all the accusations or insinuations are still just getting worse and worse and worse. And so, and I know that people want Turning Point to say stuff, but every time Turning Point does say something, it's like they still get under fire for saying something. And so as someone that's not associated with Turning Point, who is just contracted by them, I don't get paid by them. Like I'm not on their payroll.
No
like
NDAs.
no NDAs, nothing. Like I'm just a bystander who was there. You know, I was someone who really admired Charlie, who loved Charlie, just like so many people. That's why this is such a big deal, right? Like there's so many people that loved Charlie and was so for with what he was doing that, yeah, this has a lot of people riled up, rightfully so.
Do you actually know or talk to Terrell Farnsworth or anyone else at TPUSA?
No, besides my friend that works there, no, I met Terrell that day and he was incredibly nice. I can tell you after the fact, after the shot, I was actually like sitting across from him in that room and he was devastated. Like that's the thing. People can say all that they want, but they weren't there. They didn't see, you know, Charlie's blood on the security team. They didn't see them crying. They didn't see like any of this. And I guarantee you they beat themselves up every single day. And like they were truly, truly heartbroken. And so I really get upset when people are like, oh, Turning Point doesn't care about Charlie at all. And it's like, that's so far from the truth. So far from the truth. Like these people love Charlie with everything. And so to see, like, again, to see them being dragged through the mud just really, it makes me incredibly frustrated and angry. So
yeah, someone was saying, just imagine the case where none of them are guilty. Tyler actually did it. They go through court, they show proof, and the original FBI narrative is correct. How is everyone else going to backpedal? How are they going to cover themselves?
They're not going to. I don't think they're going to, because people will not believe it. Like they could have like it handed to them in a silver platter with all the evidence and they still will not believe it, because they're just so bought into government is evil, FBI is evil, and that's it. And like, I get that. Like I get government. We don't want to put all of our eggs in the basket with the government. I get that, you know, but I don't know. I just think if people were even literally showed all the evidence, everything, they'd still wouldn't believe it.
But there have been so many lies at this point told to us, even just by Turning Point in the last 3 months, that, you know, it makes it very hard to be fully bought in.
Mm-hmm. I get that.
I mean, they're not helping themselves.
I would say when it comes to very traumatic stuff too, even like recollecting certain, you know, things is hard to do. But yeah, I think when it comes to the actual evidence and forensics and time stamps and everything like that and video evidence, to me, it's all points to Tyler. I think there's actually a mountain of evidence that points towards him. But
what's the evidence for you, you know, that has helped to convince you over the last 3 months, or I don't know.
For me, it's forensics. It's really freaking hard to debate forensics, DNA. And then also for having your own parent, you know, turn you in too, that wouldn't have been easy for the parent to do.
Allegedly.
The parent just does. Yeah. Allegedly. Right. But you know, there's
with no video anymore.
Yeah.
Of him turning himself in. They just lost the video or never had it.
Was there actual video of him, or was that told not to be true?
I don't know if they originally had it and lost it or never had it. They should have had it.
Okay.
But
I can't imagine a sheriff's department or police department not having surveillance video running outside, not having multiple cameras, you know, running outside of their office, in their lobby, all of that. That stinks to high heaven.
Yeah.
But I think seeing him in court finally got people realizing that he was a real person. A lot of people thought he was AI generated or something. So, but I do have a question for you. You do not have to answer, because I understand that you told us something that may not be something you can really share. It's not about it's not about you and Charlie at all, but it's about the Erica and Candace meeting. You said that you heard some rumors from internal about what may be going on with that situation. Do you want to talk about that, or do you want to pass?
I just wouldn't be surprised, because everybody at Turning Point is just upset and hurt by the things that's been said. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a huge lawsuit filed against her. That's more of my opinion than anything. But again, it's I feel like a lose-lose situation, right? People are going to say, well, the reason why Turning Point is suing her is because she's onto something. But then at the same breath, people will say, well, why isn't Turning Point saying anything if she's wrong? So it's kind of a double-edged sword, but I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case where she's handed papers with a big old lawsuit. But I just want to also clarify something too. This is something that I want people to know. No one has any issues with people questioning things and like asking hard questions. I don't think anybody has a problem with that. It is a problem when you are truly insinuating and picking people out to purposely say that, hey, they did it. You know, it's good to ask questions. I think it's good to ask questions, but to have that insinuation of like, nope, this person actually did it, like he is the second shooter, that's where it gets that's where to me the line crosses.
I've heard people put it as the way everyone's treating this is guilty until proven innocent.
And that's
kind of
not
what everyone's
even
so,
right. So
yeah. So we have a question here.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, I was just gonna do this question here really quick. Is he able to make a comment on how it would be disrespectful of you to share the photos? You said you didn't have the pics of the aftermath, so what would be disrespectful to Erica Kirk and them about Charlie alive and healthy?
Just because, again, that's her husband. You know, because of her position too, there's not a lot of privacy that she has. A lot of that is just, it comes with the territory of her role now. But at the end of the day, there are some amazing photos of Charlie that I took that I absolutely love. But that I want to keep private. That's something that I just hope that she holds on for the rest of her life, because not everything needs to be made public, you know.
Especially without concrete proof, right?
Exactly. And so I just, it is truly 100% out of respect for them, and for Erica and you know, people that were involved as well, you know, that were there. It's just something that I feel conviction about, and I'm just going to stick to it. Because like I said, I've been offered money for my photos, and I don't want to do that.
Well, and a lot of people, you know, like they say, even us as podcasters and social media influencers, they're saying that everyone's just cashing in on Charlie's death. You know,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure you could sell your pictures and make a lot of money, right? So that must be something. Someone is asking, do you get death threats all the time? Yeah, he kind of addressed that. I don't know about all the time, but he does get them.
Not as much anymore, thankfully. I actually, so like, again, this is where I have got thick skin. I'm a big believer in everyone sharing their opinions. And I like, even when I've done TikTok lives in the past, like people are like in my comment section, they're saying like, hey, you should probably block that person because they're saying some pretty crazy stuff. And I've always been like, no, like they're fine. Like, I want them to speak their mind. I've always been a big proponent of freedom of speech, just like Charlie was. But then once my family members started to get involved in like people's names, like my family members started to show up in chat from these people, that's when it really dawned on me, like, no, there's people out there that truly want to potentially hurt me, or don't have the best intentions for me. So that's when I started to have to block people. Unfortunately, I've never been a big fan of blocking people. But yeah, I don't get them as much. I do get the, you know, like, how much are they paying you, or how's that $7,000 check? And it's like, man, I love $7,000. Right? Are you kidding me? But
I get about 20 to 30 of those comments.
I was going to say, I'm getting those too. People asking for my bank statements, and I'm thinking like, are you kidding me?
I'm loaded at this point. If I'm taking $7,000 payments as much as people say I do, I could retire.
And I think he's alive. So who's paying me if that's the case?
Yeah.
Can you address your religious background a little bit? You know, Turning Point has been really, it seems like recently transforming into more of a religious forward organization. And so there are some people who are interested in learning more about personally your religious background.
Yeah. Like I said, like, my faith to me is the most important. Just because my life, a lot of the bad things in my life have is because of my personal choices. And I understand that, but God has always redeemed every situation that I've been in. And without him, like, I'm nothing, like that's just it. And I truly believe that, you know, Jesus died on the cross for all of us, and because of what Jesus did on the cross, we all matter. Like, you know, scripture says that we were made in his image, so therefore we all have intrinsic value. And so for me, and especially after, you know, Charlie's death, there's just been this fire in me to really be intentional with the people that I come across with in my life. Because you don't know what someone's going through in their daily lives. And so if you run into a stranger, like, how are you going to treat that person? You know, you can make their day, just asking them how they're actually doing. Like, all of these things came into my mind. It's like, I really, truly want to show people a Christ-like love. And
so are we saying like Calvary Church, LDS, Catholic, evangelical?
Yeah, Christian. I'm Christian, so I guess like evangelical, non-denominational. Technically, the church I go to has a Baptist background. But yeah, I mean, there's people that work for Turning Point that are Christian and that are also LDS and stuff like that. But I think the most important thing is to truly, at least for me, like, at the end of the day, do I want everybody to know who Jesus is? Absolutely. Absolutely. But even if you don't, like, I just want you to know, like, you still matter. You're so loved and you're cared for deeply. And so I think that to me is like, when asked a question, because I posed this question in the video that I made, it was like, what do we do now? You know, as a nation, what are we going to do now? And I believe like a good step in the right direction is to truly take care of one another, to think best about each other, to love one another, regardless of what we stand politically. You know, that's what I would want. And I think that's what Charlie would want too. And I think that bridge, people think he's just all about debating and trying to prove people wrong to get views and stuff like that. But I think what he really wanted to do was to make it a norm for people to have disagreements and still at the end of the day come together and be like, man, like, you matter. Like, even if we don't agree, you still matter and we can still respect each other. And I think that's what he was trying to do. And because nowadays, like, if you disagree with me or disagree with any of my politics or my political views or my religious backgrounds, then like, I hate you. And that's not how it should be whatsoever, especially if you want to make this nation better. Like, we can't have that mindset. We have to have that mindset of, for whether or not we agree on anything, at the end of the day, the one thing we can agree on is that fact that I respect you and value you as a human being. So,
one quick question here, just a filler.
Yeah. What
are your thoughts on Erica from before, when you first got hired for that job for TPUSA? And just to be clear for everyone, he does not work for TPUSA. A lot of people are asking that. He was just contracted for that one event as a photographer for stills.
So one day only, and,
in and out,
hasn't been back in any capacity since. Can you can confirm that again for everyone?
Yeah. Like I said, though, like, looking at the comments right now, it's like, I can say whatever and people are still diehard and can believe what they're going to believe.
Well, some people are coming in and coming out. Yes. But yeah.
But so for full transparency, I didn't know anything really about Erica before any of this happened. I only really knew about Charlie. I knew that he was married, I had kids. But I was all for like his cause. I didn't really know much about Erica at all prior to. And then after the fact, to see her, you know, during his memorial service, I thought that memorial service was beautiful. I thought it was really well put together. I definitely teared up when, you know, a lot of people say it's theatrical, which I can understand too, but I personally believe it's genuine. Again, I don't know. I've never lost a spouse. I've never lost anybody that close to me in my life. And so I don't know how I would react. Some days I'm sure I'd probably not want to leave my room and cry all day, but others maybe like, we got to continue, right? We got to continue moving forward and we got to get shit done. And so,
would you jump right into being the CEO?
If that was Charlie's will, if that's something that he would want me to do, if I was his wife, then yeah. But typically, like, I think not everybody is cut out to be CEO. And you know, if that's a mantle that she's wanting to pick up and TPUSA is behind her, then I'm all for it. but I mean, who's going to be to fill Charlie's shoes is going to be hard for anybody, not even just his wife, but for anybody. So I can tell you that she definitely has a passion for it, but nobody's going to be able to replace Charlie, you know. So I hope that, you know, she does an amazing job in the situation that she's in. You know, I'm praying for her constantly and for her kids. But yeah, I think yeah, I think that she's, you know, a great human being. No one's perfect by any means, but yeah, I just wish her the best, and I hope that she kills it at being CEO for Turning Point.
No
Were
pun
you
intended.
surprised? Yeah. Were you surprised that they didn't ask you to come back and assist in any way with the memorial? I mean, they went all out.
Yeah, no, I mean,
right?
I could have showed up. I could have gone, but I didn't have time to.
Oh, they asked you if you were available?
They didn't ask if I was available, but the invitation was open. So, and like you know, like the cool thing, and this is, it's mixed feelings. But like the photo that Erica did use on her Instagram, they actually used for, you know, the huge photo outside of the, you know, Arizona Cardinals Stadium in Phoenix, and they also used it for like a lower thirds graphic during the stream, which again, like as a photographer, that means a lot. That means a lot to me. But I wish it was just in better circumstances, you know.
It's a beautiful, it is truly a beautiful picture, and we appreciate you sharing that with us too, because I mean, otherwise we wouldn't have known that you were the photographer behind this image. So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
Was there any detail or details that you can think of now that maybe initially you didn't view as important, but now with the gift of 3 months passing and hindsight, that now you think, oh man, that was actually more important than I thought it would have been? Or, you know, that did seem suspicious to me, or I wish I could have looked more into that. Besides the
Again,
drone. I know you mentioned the
yeah,
drone, so I don't want to let you just use that one.
Yeah. No, that one does beat me up though, quite a bit. I think to me, like the thing that I don't ever, like, I couldn't wrap my mind around about, I can talk now, is like why the university decided to do like demo so quickly, like where Charlie was, like that to me doesn't make sense. Never has. That was a huge question that I had. There's a lot of things that I wish, as far as the actual university, would have done better. You know, again, with the whole drone, I always think about like, what if I was able to capture Tyler on the roof? You know, would that have been distracting enough for him to not do anything, or, you know, allegedly, to make people happy? But like, I just, yeah, this concrete and like the construction specifically was always something that I'd never understood and would love more answers about. And then, yeah, that to me is like the biggest question I had. But for the most part, the way that I've been living my life is, again, like God is sovereign. And at the end of the day, like he says that justice is his, right? And everything will come to light eventually. And so if not this life, then definitely in the next. So that's where I get a lot of my comfort, and that's where I get a lot of my peace. And it also keeps me from being angry a lot, and keeps me from asking like the why, you know, like, why God did you allow this type of stuff? But at the end of the day, like, he's sovereign, and that's where I get a lot of my peace.
So we have some questions here. We'll do another quick question session. So people are asking, thanks Ivan for the super chat. Thanks Matt and Kelly, great job. How does he believe CK was killed? You've kind of already said it. You feel like he was shot from the front, and that Tyler was the shooter, correct?
Yeah.
All right. And then we have another one here. Thanks Junior Williams for the super chat. He blames Crash Patel and TP for all the uncertainty, which a lot of people say is feeding all these conspiracy theories. If they had evidence, they could 100% indicate Tyler, which a lot of people most people don't believe the story, mostly because of the 30-06. What are your thoughts on the 30-06?
Do most people have experience with 30-06? Like,
I would say
realistically,
I would say probably not. I would say most
Right.
people, yeah.
Right. So, and also, so 30-06 by itself, like, it's a great gun for hunting, especially big game. But the amount of the different types of ammunition that a 30-06 can use is a lot, right? So, we don't know. The public doesn't know what kind of actual ammunition the 30-06 use. So, you know, because there's different grades of ammunition that a 30-06 can use. And so I don't know. Bullets can also do crazy things. I know a lot of hunters that have shot elk with a 30-06 and it didn't go through.
Yeah. Same.
I know. Yeah. So like crazy things can happen. And, you know, people brought up Martin Luther King was also shot with a 30-06 and that didn't go through. I don't know if that was debunked or not. That's just something that I heard, but
yeah. So the story is it hit him in the jaw and then went down his neck and it stayed in his body. A lot of people say it hitting his mandible, had enough bone and stuff there to slow it down. But they said that a spine couldn't do the same thing.
Is a spine thicker than a mandible? Honest question. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, Charlie was a big guy, but
he was 6'4". Yeah. But like, yeah, I don't think I think it's very, very possible that a 30-06 round, especially depending on what kind of round it was, could have easily not gone through completely.
Now, in the same vein, did you hear a slap like Brian Harple said in his interview?
I didn't. I heard the gunshot. Like again, my focus was on Hunter, the person that I was taking photos of. And so when the gunshot went off, like again, like I was kind of like in shock of like, what was that? And then again, reality hit in. I was like, oh, that was a gunshot. And then that's when quickly see us turn to the left and see Charlie's team surround him and take him to the SUV.
All right, next question. Do you believe in the official text messages between Lance and Tyler?
I think they said that the Discord messages were debunked, right? In the was the official report.
Yeah, I know. Like, so the Discord messages was one thing, and then there was like the official FBI text messages they released where he like says vehicle and basically.
I mean, I use the word vehicle all the time, like I do. I think that those were real.
Okay, but you know, my love and this, and you know, and laying out everything in text messages after you would have, or a person would have perhaps gone to that length of planning and execution and then sort of ruin it with evidence in texts.
People do stupid stuff all the time. You know, I would have to see if they were real. I'd have to believe that they are real. But like, again, if it's in the official report, again, like the reason why the FBI, again, Utah State is the one that's conducting the investigation. The FBI is only assisting.
Yep.
And so Utah has their own set of laws, but I guarantee you that, you know, there's nothing to, if what Candace Owens was saying was true, don't you think like Tyler's attorneys would be using her and all that kind of stuff as well as evidence and stuff like that? But they haven't.
Well, we don't know, because I mean, they really haven't done anything yet. I mean, we are in such the preliminary stages.
But also because of that too, like you're not going to hear anything from the prosecuting side. You're not going to hear, if there's new evidence, you're not going to hear about it until the court's actually going to do what it's going to do, which is why I'm really excited the fact that it is going to be televised. And the cameras are going to be loud, because I think everybody is going to be tuned in to actually hear what happened. So
had you been to Utah before, spent any time there?
Yeah, actually, so in 2023, I went to Southern Utah. I went to all 5 national parks there and with my camera, and it was so much fun. Like Southern Utah is absolutely beautiful. Zion National Park is actually like one of my favorite places to go. I've only been there twice, but I really, really want to go again. So
And then I guess, Eric, like, had you spent any time? I'm just curious again how the TPUSA connection came about, you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, that was,
I know you said it was a friend, but I mean,
so I was going through in 2020. Yeah. So 2024, I was constantly looking for photo gigs, like constantly. And so when Charlie came to Boise State University, I found out that there's a friend that I had on Facebook that not only was there, but was working for Turning Point. And I messaged her saying, hey, if you ever need, an extra camera, let me know. And she reached out a few months after the fact, and we connected and said that she's, that Turning Point's going to be doing this whole campus tour in the fall, and was wondering if I'd like to be part of it. And so, yeah, that was basically it. And so, yeah, there's like nothing really crazy about that one.
So some people are asking for clarification. A lot of people said it sounded like a firework. There were witnesses that said it sounded like fireworks.
That was my first thought, my very first thought, like when I heard the sound, because again, a gun shooting at this event was never on my mind. Like I didn't even think about, like the worst possible scenario at that moment. And so when I first heard the sound, I thought it was a firework. And then again, like reality hits very quickly, and being around firearms for a long time, I was like, ooh, that was a gunshot. And then that's when, my attention was drawn to Charlie and the security team.
Now, you mentioned something in your other podcast up on the roof behind, I guess, the Hall of Flags, would it be? Directly above the tent. You mentioned that you went up there and you were taking pictures, and you looked out over the other buildings, and your first thought was, this isn't good, right?
Again, I had that same like fish. We're like stuck in a fishbowl situation. Like we're just in this little tiny area. And so, but yeah, from what I was told, it was the university's job to patrol like the roofs and stuff like that. So I went up there to get, so go ahead.
And that was told to you by Harpole's team, by the security team?
I think so. If I remember correctly, I think it was by his team.
Okay.
But yeah, I was up there to get a photo, a wide shot of the entire crowd that was there.
And that was your 70, or is that wider?
That was with my 18 to 35.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
All right. So we have a super chat here from Dog's Nose 2, or I can't.
Sorry, Matt, I'm going to interrupt you real quick, because there were a lot of people in the chat who were asking who'd come in later because they didn't catch Andrew's name. So do you want to just reintroduce yourself real quick, Andrew, and say?
Yeah. So I'm Andrew. I was Turning Point's hired photographer for that event, and that event only. I was actually supposed to do, we're going to go to Eugene, Oregon next, and then in San Francisco, I think Cal Berkeley was the ones I was also going to be at. But yeah, and so I was there that day. I was about 10 to 15 feet away from Charlie when he was shot. And so, yeah, that's who I am. But yeah, I'm a professional photographer. Been doing it for about 8 years. And so, yeah.
And he was also, as we've already shown, he was a subject of topic on Jimmy Dore when they're talking about the cameraman who they thought might have shot through the camera with some kind of, camera set up to be a gun. And he was implicated, and he's received death threats and different things because of that. And if you want to see, what his response to that was, we covered that earlier. But yeah, that is who he is. So we had that next super chat. Dog Nose 2 is saying, were you the fastest player on your football team? And if you were, show proof, or else we're not going to believe you, you fed.
No, I was not the fastest player on my team. There was a couple, actually not a couple. There was like probably about 6 or 7 dudes that were faster than I was. Yeah. And yeah, I was somewhat fast. Like, I don't know what your average speed like is for football, but I think I ran a 4.6 40 when I was a sophomore in high school, which isn't awful, but it's not like lightning fast.
And thanks for that super chat. And then we have one more. Ivan is Ivan. How is it an org as large as TPA does not have their own staff photographer?
That's a good question. Earlier. Yeah, that is a good question. I don't know. There's a lot of things that are a benefit to contracting people instead of having people, hired within. You don't have to worry about health benefits. You don't have to worry about, all sorts of stuff. And so, but yeah, that's something that I don't know. That's a great question though.
In reviewing previous college tour visits, I definitely have seen other folks there who appear to have the role of the still photographer. So I don't know if maybe there was a change. I mean, I'm just speculating here, but I have reviewed a ton, and it did seem like one of the guys who actually was crouching on the ground, now that I think about it, as though he was working the audio board, maybe. In fact, he might have been wearing the 1776 hat, or the hat with some kind of with numbers on it. Anyway, that he was wearing. Sometimes it seemed like he was playing double duty, running a couple of different things at once. So I'm just going to throw that out there. If anyone wants to help us, and be cyber sleuths, please feel free to dig in and follow up with us and let us know. But Andrew, you never talked to anybody that day and said, or no one came up to you, no one said, hey, yeah, I usually shoot stills, so here's the
I
deal.
talked to the video team, and also the team that is usually next to Charlie when they're asking the questions and debating stuff, because simply, like, I'm a camera nerd, so I was really curious to know what like cameras they were using and that kind of stuff. And also, like, where not to be. I asked them, like, hey, like, I don't want to get in your guys's shot at all, so if you can just tell me where not to be, like, that'd be perfect. And so they just like, yeah, don't just be in this area. You can be over here, over here, over there, and that's fine. But the camera angle is going to be primarily on this. So that kind of like very normal conversations that you have at events when it comes to production and stuff like that. So
now, is there anyone at TPUSA? I don't know if you've been following the allegations, but there's like people talking about financial issues. They're talking about the 990 forms not being filed. I think it was Wolves in Finance said that. Is it Tyler Boyer who got moved to TPA USA Action? Like, there's some like internal financial stuff going on in Doge and all that. Have you heard about any of that from your friend that works there?
Nope. Yeah, that's not something that I would have known about.
Okay. I'm just going through questions here. So we have just a couple of quick questions. So are you LDS?
Nope.
Are you, let's see, are you Israeli?
Nope.
Are you Jewish?
I think my mom has some Jewish in her, but she's Christian.
Now, what are your thoughts on, this is a question I think is really interesting because you talk about faith and all that stuff really deeply.
Yeah.
And you talk about your respect for Charlie for all of that. What are your thoughts on him kind of converting to Catholicism? And it sounds like he was getting ready to actually fully convert and apply and all that stuff to the Catholic Church. What are your thoughts on that, coming from an evangelical Christian background?
I don't know how true that is, just because there's videos of Charlie saying that, like, there's a lot of things within Catholicism that he doesn't agree with, a lot of like the church traditions that he doesn't agree with. Even on the day of the Utah Valley University event, he literally says that he's an evangelical Christian. There's videos of him saying that. So I don't know how true that is. I don't see why that there would be really necessarily an issue with him converting to Catholicism if that was the case. But I do know that. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. The biggest question I have about it is like non-denominational Christian. Well, most Christians that I know of, there are definitely tons of different, variations and all that kind of stuff, right? But the basic non-denominational everyday Christian, the Bible says no false idols, right?
Right.
So a lot of people see Catholicism,
praying to Mary,
the rosary, praying to the saints and that kind of stuff. So if he was like a hardcore Christian and raised that way and evangelical, to me, it would be super hypocritical for him to convert to Catholicism. Yeah,
I could see that. I do know that, like, so I've been to mass before. I have some Catholic friends, and I dated someone that was Catholic, like, in high school, and it's a really pretty ceremony. It's the church traditions there that they have, whether or not you agree with it is up to you, but there's some really pretty stuff that the Catholic Church does. And so I don't know, like, from everything that I've known about Charlie and the stuff that he's been known to say on video. I didn't see any evidence of him converting to Catholicism, but yeah, like I said, the day of the event, he did say that he was evangelical Christian. So,
and just real quick, everyone who's in the chats, and I think we're like 5 or 6 different social media platforms that we're on right now. Can everyone hit that like? And if you are not already subscribed to Kelly Raybon, make sure you go over to YouTube and X and Instagram and subscribe and show some love. She actually did get to over 1,000 subscribers now on YouTube, which is awesome. And she may actually already be at the hours that she needs as well. But if you can go over there and just like hit play on some videos while you're drinking your coffee and just let it get some hours to build up, that'd help her out. And
it cost you a cent, and it means the world to me. So thank you.
Yep. And if you hit those likes, that's what that's basically like paying YouTube paying YouTube to spread this out, right? So we definitely appreciate it. And
Andrew, I'm sorry, go ahead. And y'all make sure you're following TriggerSmart too. If by chance you have stumbled here through my page, TriggerSmart on all the platforms. I'm trying to remember, is your
X is TriggerSmart HQ
on X, right? Okay.
Yeah, I keep forgetting we have a mixed audience.
Yes. I see a few of them here and there.
And then there's another channel called Offscript Radio, and it is the station that I want to do this on. So I want to do talk shows and be able to host with Kelly and things like that. So we're trying to get that one to 1,000 subs too. So if you can go over there, show some love, and as usual, hit the like. All right, let's get back to, we still have a lot of questions. Kelly, did you have anything specific you wanted to ask?
Yes, I did have a question. Andrew, briefly you mentioned, as you were kind of powwowing with the other folks on the sort of audio visual side beforehand, that, and getting your bearings, that you guys, you learned about where the off limits places to be were. Can you tell me where that would have been?
Yeah, so it was the camera to Charlie's left. It's like, I'm pretty sure it's where, like, if you see his TikToks, it's the camera that's pointing at the people asking questions. I was specifically asking him because I might, in my mind, I was like, oh, I might want to get a shot of Charlie from this angle. So I just wanted to communicate to the team, like, hey, is it cool if I'm, like, where do you want me to be? Where am I going to be in frame? That kind of stuff. And so, yeah, they just told me, like, not to stand specifically there because, that you'll be in camera. And so, yeah, that is really the conversations. I liked their gear. Like, they use a lot of Sony products, and I use Canon, but I have used Sony in the past. And yeah, it was just a bunch of camera nerd conversations. Honestly.
So it was instructed to you to stay on that right side for the most part. So that way you were away from that camera on the left.
Yeah,
it was specifically like Charlie's left shoulder, essentially. Not the one that was sort of, in front of him at the corner of the table in front of him.
So yeah, so the camera to the left of Charlie was facing out to the people asking questions, right? So they said I literally could be anywhere except for right there, just because they didn't want me in frame. That was it. So yeah.
All right, and then I have a question for you. What have you been doing to process the trauma of this event? And have you been in any therapy groups with anyone else from there?
I've done a little bit of counseling. I want to do like more, because there's just a lot of stuff in my life that's been really crazy over the last, year and a half or so. But I was able to talk to a first responder therapist, because a lot of stuff that I, saw is a lot of stuff that, first responders see and struggle with. And so that was really helpful. The church that I go at has been absolutely amazing. My pastor, I'm just surrounded by a lot of people that are prayer warriors and have continually encouraged me and to keep me grounded. And there's definitely days where I feel pretty down and feel that grief of everything. And so to have people in my corner to just constantly uplift me and remind me of Christ's love and who I belong to has been absolutely, it's been everything to me. So, yeah,
I think
get people in your life that will pray for you, because they're amazing.
Yeah, no, I know a couple of interviews I looked at from the witnesses, there were people that were reaching out and creating groups specific for that event. Have you been contacted by any of them?
Mm-mm.
Okay, interesting. All right, I do have your video, and let me see if I can pull this up correctly. Bear, but what, I'm just getting kind of used to StreamYard, so I'm going to try and share this video, and might be a technical issue, but give me 1 second here. All right, I think this will work.
Kirk's photographer at the UVU event on September 10th. Now in this video, I'm not going to be talking about the horrific things that I saw. And this video isn't.
I don't think we see it yet.
Yep, that is not in the right place. How can I add this to the stage properly? All right, let's try this again.
Anything like that. I'm not going to be even showing the photos that I took at the event. But what I do want to talk about is something that isn't being talked about a ton. Because as horrific as that day was, God is doing something so much bigger with it. So about 5 minutes before the incident happened, and as Charlie was wrapping up with the first individual who was asking questions, Charlie was talking about theology. And this is what he said. That at the end of the day, Jesus Christ loved us enough to die on the cross for us. He rose up from the grave 3 days later, and at the end of the day, Jesus Christ is King. Historically speaking, I don't know how many people have been able to proclaim the gospel just minutes before they leave this world. But Charlie did. Just thinking about that in particular, I've just been left with this question. Now what? What do I do? What do we do as a nation with this? Because this horrific incident can easily make this divided country even more divided. And being there and seeing all of these things in person, I can honestly tell you that this is not a left versus right issue. This is not a Republican versus Democrat issue. This is not a conservative versus liberal issue. It is so much deeper than that. This issue is on a heart level issue. And in my experience, and my true belief is that when it comes to the heart, when it comes to our sinful nature, only God is the answer to that.
So for a lot of people that don't know, you're very faithful, you're a Christian, you looked up to Charlie, and you've already addressed these accusations against you. And this would now be your second time doing that. The first time was a week after it happened on the previous podcast. So is there anything that you would like to say to anyone else who still would challenge you or say that you did it or says that you're a fed or you're lying or anything like that? Is there a message you want to leave to them?
To someone who's seen that video, that's circulated around, apologies for interrupting you. Some people have joined late, and so they didn't get to hear you address any of that earlier.
Yeah. I think this is going to sound harsh, but use your brain, use actual logic, especially when it comes to firearms. So I'm specifically talking about the video that was made against me to see if that was even the second shooter or if I was the one that did it. There's a lot of things that go into shooting a gun in the first place. There's recoil, there's a shell drop, there's so many things, right? And so, again, I do have evidence that shows that I was a photographer. We've seen the photos that I did take, the ones that Erica posted. So I was doing my job, and that's all I was doing. I was truly there at an event to help out Turning Point, capture memories and moments of not just the event itself, but of Charlie too. And so I just would also want people to be gracious towards people. Maybe think before typing something out, social media. I love social media, but like I said earlier, social media has been used for evil too. The people that you're talking to are actually human beings. And I really, truly believe that social media has completely desensitized us from viewing someone as a human being. There are lives that have been really impacted and affected in a very negative way because of everything that's happened. And so please just remember that there is an actual human being on the other side of the screen that that love like you love, that care like you care. And so just be mindful of that. Not everyone, in my opinion, especially with our nation, you are innocent until proven guilty. And that same goes for Tyler too, right? So I think that's kind of the mindset that we should be having. So.
All right, awesome. Kelly, did you have any final questions?
I think that just about wraps it up. I feel like we've covered so much, you guys. This has been a solid 2 hours of putting Andrew through the ringer and rehashing, wherever you stand on things was definitely a traumatic experience for anyone there. And it sounds like you have been through a lot in, the weeks and months that have passed.
Well, we definitely appreciate you being here and getting to speak your piece. And like you said, it's common sense. I can say in my investigation and things that I've been doing, there are people who have said things to me, and I said, that is 100% false. That could never happen. You should move on to the next lead. And then a month later, they will say the exact same thing. So I understand where you're coming from and some of the stuff that you're facing. And, we take you at face value. People still have to question things. They can do that. They have the freedom.
Absolutely.
You should question everything, but make sure you have some evidence, because almost everyone on that stage at this point has been accused of something. Every single person. The lady that brought mints to Harpole is a suspect, right? So we just have to be careful that, it's innocent until proven guilty, not the other way around. But everyone, make sure you hit the like on the way out. The likes help us the most. Make sure you go over and subscribe to Kelly Raybon over on X, Instagram, and YouTube. And we appreciate you being here with us tonight.
And Andrew, where do they find you?
Yep. So I'm on Instagram.
If you want to be found. If you want to be found.
No, really. So my Instagram handle is Andrew Ferrasi _productions. I do also have an X, but I usually use that for like football. I'm a huge Boise State fan, and we didn't do that great this year. I'm not gonna lie, but and then I do have a TikTok account with my first and last name as well, and I plan on making a lot more videos on there, not related to Charlie, but just more stuff that I'm personally passionate about. So, yeah.
All right, awesome. We appreciate you being here, Kelly. Thank
you for having me.
with me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, everyone else, we'll see you on the next one. Have a good night.